Like many of us do, most of us do, I faced a period in my life where all of the great solutions I'd come up with to living life, none of them worked. None of them worked at all. All of my efforts to make a life as an adult, this was 25 years ago, so I was a young adult. My efforts to make a life up to that point, and all the things I had included in that effort to make a good life, they didn't work when I was facing this dilemma. And rather than being able to find solutions, no matter how many solutions I tried to find, things just kept getting worse. They just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And as they got worse, all kinds of thoughts and emotional states started proliferating. Doom and gloom, total bewilderment, hopelessness, powerlessness, no way out, what to do, how to live 30 or 40 more years at least. In this state, I just didn't see it happening. It wasn't the way I wanted to be living, but at the same time, I didn't know what to do about it. Nothing would fix it, and I knew a lot of possible fixes. Philosophy, psychology, religion, no matter what it was I looked into, it just didn't avail me anything. And so in this total confusion, this maelstrom of everything that seemed to be going on inwardly, I suddenly realized that all of these things had an underlying basis, and that underlying basis, rather than being something separate from me, that it is me. That's what I realized. And I didn't even think of anything to call it. It was just relief. I just rested and there was relief. So anxiety would come up, the perception of anxiety, relief as that anxiety. So not relief over and against the anxiety, relief as the anxiety. Panic would come up, relief as panic. Paranoia, relief as paranoia. Hope, relief as hope. Hopelessness, relief as hopelessness. It didn't matter what it was. The whole world of opposites. And so gradually over a 10-day period, I became more and more familiar with myself as I am, rather than as I had taken myself to be. All these ideas I'd adopted from other people, willingly adopted. Oh, your idea about living? Sure, I'll take it on. I'll make it my idea of living too. So all of these ways I'd adopted of being that I had found to be inconclusive, I found, I didn't need to do anything about them other than realize the complete relief that was the essence and is the essence of their nature. To realize that not one of these, no matter what they are, has any kind of independent origin other than relief, complete relief. And that relief is only because there's awareness of relief. There's awareness of relief. So relief, relief, relief. I returned to that again and again, rigorously, because I did not want to persist in my suffering. I'd realized the nature of my own suffering, this proliferation of points of view, this endless proliferation of points of view of taking myself to be someone. I deeply, thoroughly, completely got in touch with my own suffering. Without that, I would have had no motivation to look for relief. But you see, until there is that complete understanding of one's own suffering, there can't be any true motivation to seek relief. Suffering has to be looked at, and it needs to be decided that isn't the way I want to live. So with that total commitment to that, knowing that the end of my suffering had to be, and that if it had to be this relief as the immediacy of every perception, that's what it had to be. I didn't look for a destination. I just knew that as every single perception, I was totally free, completely free. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. I felt the relief of total freedom, of impeccable freedom, of timeless freedom, of totally sublime freedom. And I was completely willing to live the rest of my life like that. I thought that was great. I'd never known that there was anything like that existed. But after 10 days, then suddenly that's all there was, relief. Complete relief. That's it. Seamless, vast relief without really needing to call it anything, inclusive of everything. Amazing. Amazing, amazing, yet completely ordinary and natural. It was just so clear to me that everyone already is this. For a while, I thought, maybe I've just been clueless. Maybe everyone knows this. I just didn't know it. But then I could see that a lot of people didn't know this reality of our being. And I found, too, that it could be easily communicated. If it was just put in simple human language, it could be easily communicated. The reality of what we are, when it became so obvious here, it was so clear that every single point of view I had looked for to bring me satisfaction and fulfillment, no matter what it was, that what I had really been looking for was this. So I was looking at the points of view, but I was only looking at their label and thinking, that maybe happiness was in that label. And the happiness was in the underlying reality of the label. When I realized that everything was complete in itself. So everything I'd looked for happiness, being a good person, being a good wife, being a good mother, being a good daughter, being a good sister, being a good auntie, whatever it was. All of these things that I'd looked to for satisfaction and fulfillment, in that instant of realizing the awareness that it's always been, I realized that that's what I was looking for. And especially my relationship with God. I'd been raised as a Catholic, and I had been an earnest and devout Catholic, praying as a young child to be close to God and wanting to know all of what that meant, and enjoying my missal and the Latin Mass and all the ritual of the Catholic Church, greatly, greatly enjoying all of that. And praying all of my life, every single day, morning and night, praying sometimes during the day too. So really earnest, and not as devout as my mother and grandmother, but I was warming up to that. I learned well from them. But, through their example of devotion, that devotion was very important in my life, and it was very much alive in me, that devotion. So, when it came to the realization of my own suffering and the direct experience of awareness, that devotion that had been inspired in me from early life was very important, because then I could be devoted to that relief. So, I'm so thankful that that was present for me. But, my earnestness to know God and my devotion to that, in the realization of awareness, I realized that this awareness that everyone is, it's synonymous with whatever you want to call it, whether it's God or perfect love or the absolute or the divine mother or white Tara, green Tara, or Saman Tabatri, or whatever it is. It's all awareness. You see, there's one thing that about each one of those, the perceptions, that is constant: awareness. Awareness. So no matter what we call it, it is awareness. The great reality of all seeking for satisfaction and fulfillment is that we're looking for awareness. So no matter what our thoughts are, no matter what our emotions are, no matter what our actions are, the urgency in those is always the urgency for awareness. That's what it is. And once we know that no perception, whatever it is, exists elsewhere other than awareness, thus it has no independent substance, nature, or characteristics other than awareness, then it supports us greatly in just being that, allowing that to be primary rather than the label, the description of what's going on. Stories come to an end. They come to a complete halt, because it's realized that to persist in the story is to just make a story out of awareness.